Yo, what is up, everyone? Welcome back to this brand new episode of Hockeytown Rundown. You're here with me once again, your beautiful host, Zach, Carlo, Les. Once again, if you guys saw our posts on Twitter and over on YouTube and also on Instagram, Carlo's been out day to day with an illness. Me, unfortunately, dealing with everyday life stuff outside of obviously the podcast and work. It is what it is. But we're back. We're getting back into the groove of things here with another short episode for you guys for this week. Probably will do another one later this week as well. What do we got in store today? Well, we will be going in depth about Yzerman and McLellan's next move for the Detroit Red Wings because let's just face it, we all see what's been going on the last couple of games. The Detroit Red Wings absolutely stink. They smell. I can smell them through the camera as I am talking to you guys right now. And so we will go ahead and deep dive into what those next moves might be and what's currently going on with the team. Why are they doing so bad? Before I do that, I want to stop and say thank you for joining me on this brand new episode once again. If you are returning, but if you are brand new, I truly do appreciate you stopping by, and so does Carlo. If you guys are watching or listening to us on YouTube, go ahead and hit that subscribe button that is down below. Hit that thumbs up, hit that notification bell that lets you know when these brand new episodes come out. Our main episodes come out every Sunday, so be on the lookout for those. We do as well upload short episodes, these clips, the YouTube shorts. We put them on TikTok, Instagram, all those places. Follow us on all those social media platforms as well. You can also watch and listen to us on Spotify as well as Apple Podcasts. With that being said, let's go ahead and get the show started. And where do I even begin? Well, just like I mentioned, Yzerman and McLellan's next moves for Detroit. As we saw for the Chicago Blackhawks game that was most recently this Sunday where the Red Wings did lose 5-1, I unfortunately was at that game. I thought the Red Wings would actually be able to win a game after the unfortunate loss against the New York Rangers coming back home after their long West Coast trip. Well, the Detroit Red Wings did call up centerman forward Nate Danielson, where after that Chicago Blackhawks game, actually Todd McLellan came out and said, if Dano did not get injured, he certainly would have made this team. The reason why they put him on the team when they did is because they wanted to get a look of him, see what he can do, and then make choices moving forward with some of these extra players that they have. I think you all can read between the lines on what that means. The players like the Comfers, the Cops, the Rasmussens, the Berggrens, the Sodas, the Hammoniks, and maybe even the Sherratts. JBD, why isn't he playing? Why do we keep on inserting Hamonic? Granted, we did see today at their practice that JBD will and should be inserted back into the lineup. Hamonic just keeps on getting ragdolled by the opposing team every single time that he steps out on the ice, and even when he fights. It's been an absolute failure with Travis Hamonic. And I even said that a couple episodes ago. If the Detroit Red Wings have to play Travis Hamonic in 5 or more games this season, there's a deeper issue within this team. He has now started in 9 games for the Detroit Red Wings and has 1 point. And let's just go ahead and showcase that real quick because the Detroit Red Wings are lacking in the secondary scoring department. That is no surprise to anyone. And just to showcase to you guys over here, over on Elite Prospects, you can see the point production from everyone on the team from most to least. Dylan Larkin obviously still carrying the team on his back with 9 goals, 10 assists for 19 points in 16 games played. Alex DeBrincat still hanging in there. He was on fire scoring goals after going scoreless for, I believe it was his first 9 or 10 games. He's now up to 4 goals, 11 assists for 15 points. Lucas Raymond, just under a point per game player as well with 13 points in 14 games. Then from there, it's an immediate drop. Emmett Finney has not showcased the type of player that he was during that stretch where he collected most of his points. Mason Appleton really hasn't been producing any points ever since he got that hot start as well, playing up on the top line and even some looks on the second line. JT Comfort, no surprise, but the fact that he's even up there at number 6, what is going on with some of the players on this team? Granted, Patrick Kane coming back from an injury. Jonathan Berggren is the 11th posted player on this list at 4 points and 10 games played. Then you go down there. The bigger issues that we are noticing is that some of these players that we expected to take jumps are not. Marco Kasper, sophomore slump. I think it's safe to say that we can call it out now. Marco Kasper, unfortunately, has hit a sophomore slump. He got pushed down to the 3rd line against the Chicago Blackhawks with JT Comfort being bumped up into that 2nd line with Alex DeBrincat and Patrick Kane. And then on that 3rd line, it was Nate Danielson, Marco Kasper, and Mason Appleton. I actually didn't mind that line. I thought Nate Danielson actually had a really great first NHL debut. The kid looked fine. Even Todd McLellan said he is not the reason why we lost that game, and even gave credit to him for doing what he could in that loss. So with that, what is going on with this team exactly? Not a lot of good things. Special teams have been tremendously horrendous. It has been absolutely a nightmare, is for lack of a better term, I guess. The Detroit Red Wings, unfortunately, just have not been able to produce what we all wanted them to and how they looked at the start of the season within their first 9 games. Ever since then, it looks like it's been a completely different team. One thing that I will call out, they aren't playing with any heart at all. You watched what happened against the Chicago Blackhawks. You're leaving players like Tyler Bertuzzi wide open when you're on the PK in front of your net of John Gibson. And right before that, actually, Tyler Bertuzzi was sent to the penalty box. And do you know what he was doing? Displaying heart, because he got into it with the refs a little bit. He's out there on the ice, and that's the type of player that he is. Whenever he goes out on that ice, he plays with full heart. The comparison for the Detroit Red Wings, I would say, would be Marco Kasper. Marco Kasper actually looked pretty decent out there on that third line. I think that was an appropriate demotion, quote unquote, if that's truly what you want to call it, for Marco Kasper. I think Tom McLellan sent him a message, hey, showcase to me what you can do on this third line. It's going to be a little bit of a demotion, but for good reason. Showcase to me that you deserve to be back up there on that second line. Unfortunately, you have to do that with some of these young players. It's not a healthy scratch, and we don't want to see stuff like that. But the fact, too, is that we already sent down a player like Michael Brandsegg-Nygaard in order to sustain filling up more spaces onto this roster. And so basically what I'm trying to get at this point is that Steve Yzerman and Todd McLellan's next move really should be to include some more of these young players that they have within the AHL in the Grand Rapids Griffins system. And just moving over to the tabs real quick, here's how it looks for the Grand Rapids Griffins in the AHL currently, based on their top players and their total points. John Leonard leading the way with 12 points in 8 games. Amadeus Lombardi, 10 points in 9 games. Dominic Shine, 9 points in 7 games. And then you see even someone like Carter Mazur, who is out with injury. He's over a point per game, so we probably won't see him for quite some time. But Nate Danielson, he started out the season with an injury. 5 points in 4 games. The Detroit Red Wings are in that situation now where, look, I don't even think we're at the point where we can even trade any of the players that aren't providing the depth scoring that we truly need. And that's the same call out to the players like the JT Compher's, the Andrew Kopps, the Michael Rasmussens, the Elmer Soderblom's, and then just to throw in there the Travis Hamonic and then Jana Timbergren as well. It is high time that the Detroit Red Wings start to bring up the youth. And it's to the point where, I guess I'll speak for myself, I am to the point now where those players that I just mentioned, just waive them. If they get claimed, that's actually a benefit to the Detroit Red Wings. A lot of folk might actually believe that in order to trade some of these players that I just mentioned, you'll have to include some picks to move on from them. I don't think we're really in a position to be doing that currently. And it seems to be that a lot of teams don't want the players that the Detroit Red Wings have. So at this point, yeah, waive them. What do you got to lose? The only downside to it is that the AHL does have the veteran rule. To me, that is exactly what the Detroit Red Wings need to do. And unfortunately, they're putting way too much pressure on some of their young kids as it is. And if you're already going to do that, you might as well should just start inserting more of them. It truly doesn't help that the defense really hasn't gotten that much better compared to last year either. The only upgrade that you truly made was by inserting Axel Sandin Pellikka onto the back end, who gets moved up and down from the second unit all the way down to the third unit. There's really no right or wrong answer for that because you should be utilizing him on the power play for your team. But you look at it from a Moritz Seider perspective. Moritz Seider is being asked to play both offense and defense for this team. That might be the case for a lot of the defensemen on this team as well. And this might be an unpopular opinion, but Seider should be getting all the unsexy D-zone starts. And I am quoting you, Carlo, on that. And to that point as well, Axel should be starting all of his starts in the offensive zone. Let's start utilizing the weapons that we have on this team. And by that, I mean the players that have the gifted skill sets. We all know Axel, power play QB. Not even a question. Why aren't we having him start in the offensive zone more? Why aren't we having Moritz Seider start more in the defensive zone? Granted, Moritz Seider gets to play in all situations, whether that's power play, whether that's PK, starts on the fly, starts in the neutral zone, starts in the defensive zone, starts in the offensive zone. Moritz Seider should not be asked to be playing more offensive hockey when his job is to shut down the opposing team night in and night out. And so with that goes back to my take, is that Steve Yzerman and Todd McLellan should be doing everything in their power moving forward from here, because I think the sample size that we have is more than enough. We're almost at 20 games now. The direction of this Detroit Red Wings team needs to be the full-blown youth movement. You should be calling up players like Amadeus Lombardi. When Carter Mazur gets healthy, you should be calling him up as well. Eventually, I would love to see them call up players like Antti Tuomisto, William Wallander, and dare I even say it, we should be getting call-ups on the goalies as well, whether if that's between Costa or Postava, who both are playing lights-out hockey for the Grand Rapids Griffins. Sebastian Costa, in 4 games, a 1.75 goals against, 9.39 save percentage. Postava, 5 games, 2.15 goals against average, a 9.36 save percentage. Both have gone 4-0-0. Costa has 1 shutout as well. So congratulations to him. I'm not saying that I'm picking on the goalies, because I will say, thanks to Bench Rates over on Twitter for supplying us the data on this, the Detroit Red Wings, especially on the special teams, mainly talking about on the PK, the Detroit Red Wings are worse on the PK when John Gibson is in net for the Detroit Red Wings. Based on the numbers, and this was all given to us last week, and we didn't get a chance to utilize it, so a lot of this probably has changed, but thank you, Bench Rates, over on Twitter. You can go ahead and follow them at Bench Rates on Twitter. That is their it's at Bench Rates. Go ahead and give them a follow. They do a really great job at doing the analytical stuff when it comes to Detroit Red Wings hockey and really just NHL hockey in general. But moving along, when the Red Wings are on the PK, the Red Wings need to do a better job at reducing the expected goals against in the PK. The leaders for the Red Wings on the PK, from top to bottom, and expected goals against per 2 minutes is JT Compher at 0.369 goals against per 2 minutes on the PK. Andrew Kopp, 0.314, and then Albert Johansson, 0.306. The leaders actually on this is Michael Rasmussen, 0.179, and Moritz Seider at a solid 0.200, essentially. So if JT Compher and Andrew Kopp and Albert Johansson aren't doing so much on the PK, and they're not blocking shots that they need to, essentially what that means is that the players that should be on the ice for the PK key moments should be players like Moritz Seider, Ben Chiarot, Michael Rasmussen, Dylan Larkin. The other unit could be Travis Hamonic, Simon Edvinsson, Mason Appleton. Just throwing out that those players have the good indicators when it comes to the penalty kill. So the Detroit Red Wings, it might be worth looking for another PK forward as an alternative to Kopp and Compher. You probably have that over in the Grand Rapids Griffins system right now. Now let's go ahead and talk about the Detroit Red Wings power play. The Detroit Red Wings power play currently sits 16th in the league at 18.9%. And just in their 2 last games alone against the Chicago Blackhawks and the New York Rangers, they have gone 0 for 9 on the power play. So the lack of scoring on the special teams truly is diminishing this team overall, because the Red Wings have been outscored in their last 2 games 9-2. Just in the month of November alone, between their 4 games that they played, including the Sharks, the Vegas Golden Knights, the New York Rangers, and the Chicago Blackhawks, the Detroit Red Wings have been outscored 5-11. So all around, the Detroit Red Wings are just lacking being able to produce any type of goal scoring, whether if that's on special teams or that being on 5-on-5. And it keeps on circling back to my point that the Detroit Red Wings with Steve Yzerman and Todd McLellan need to make some changes here. And their next moves probably include a lot of the young players that are over on the Grand Rapids Griffins. I would hesitate a little bit more on the Sebastian Cossa and the Postava call out, but I will hunker down and double tap my take that the Detroit Red Wings absolutely should be looking at calling up players like Amadeus Lombardi, Carter Mazur once he gets fully healthy, even players like William Wallander and Tuomisto. And maybe this is a hot take, and maybe I'm kind of trying to pick between the lines, and maybe it's not even there. It's me just kind of putting my Steve Yzerman cap on and trying to overthink and being a wizard about it. But this might be the direction that Steve Yzerman and Tom McLellan always envisioned before this season started, that if the Detroit Red Wings couldn't figure it out, much like how they said after game one, that terrible loss against the Montreal Canadiens, how many more times do we have to hear it from these players saying that we can fix this? We're back to that point again. The next step from here is to either try and trade some players away, get what you can for them, or just send them through waivers and start calling up these young players. And I think most of the people who are going to watch this episode would probably agree. If you don't agree, I would love to hear your take down in the comments. As always, let us know your thoughts and opinions. We love engaging with you guys. That no one's going to miss these guys. The Rasmussens, the Comfers, the Comps, the Sodas, the Bergrens, the Hammoniks. I'll even throw out OT Benny Sherratt, even though it's OT Benny contract year Sherratt. He's looked all right, but even throwing him out there too. And I don't want to put too much blame on the goaltending. I really do believe that this team overall is just way too soft. They are not playing with heart. Like I mentioned in that call out against the Chicago Blackhawks, Tyler Bertuzzi, all heart kind of guy, wears it on his sleeve every single shift that he goes out there and plays. Who on the Detroit Red Wings is our Tyler Bertuzzi this year? I made the call out, it's Marco Kasper, but if we didn't have Marco Kasper, who would it be? I don't think anyone can really answer that because we don't have that player. And this might be the starting sign of them calling up Nate Danielson, that we might be starting to see that change where, you hear that? It's the Leafs of change. It's actually supposed to be the Winds of change, but I changed it to Leafs because we beat the Toronto Maple Leafs twice back to back. But it's the Leafs of change coming where Steve Yzerman and Todd McLellan might be on agreement, and this might have been the start from the get-go. If the team starts not producing well, and if it continues going in that direction, quite like it is right now, you're 9-7. You were 9-3 or 9-4 at one point. You're now 9-7. The Detroit Red Wings need to start bringing up the young guys. No more waiting. We've waited long enough. I would much rather, and I think a lot of the people watching and listening to this would agree with me, the next step is to bring up the young guys. We would much rather see the young guys learn and make mistakes rather than keep on watching the players that have been in the NHL for 3+ seasons and continuously make the same mistakes over and over again. And that is where I am going to end my rant on this episode. I will stop here and say thank you to everyone for joining me on this brand new episode. Once again, if you are returning, if you are brand new, thank you so much for stopping by and listening to my rant about the Detroit Red Wings struggles and what Steve Yzerman and Todd McLellan's next moves should be based on what we've seen these last few games. The shutout against the Vegas Golden Knights, you couldn't get any offensive productivity going. And the same result against the New York Rangers, the same result against the Chicago Blackhawks, who have been a struggling team. Granted, the Detroit Red Wings have been too. On paper, you should have blown them out of the water. And same with the New York Rangers, who can't even win at home. You should have been able to beat them in your home arena coming back from a road trip. I digress. I would love to hear from you guys at home what you thought about this episode, what you think about the take on what the next moves that Steve Yzerman and Coach Todd McLellan should be making for the Detroit Red Wings. And until then, I'll see y'all on the next one. See ya. I love you as always. And until next time, goodbye.